Hey guys, it's Clone here, and today I'm back with my good friend Marklar. How you doing today, Mark?
Hello, not bad.
So today we're going to be going over defensive footwork and all the ins and outs of footwork while you're on the defense. So I'll let Mark start us out with the first topic, and we'll just kind of dive right into
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I think the first topic we talked about was like the different ranges of defense, and this does tie into footwork. So we talked the main two are when you're this close to your opponent. This is what we call face hug range, at this range, you're not in a great position to defend yourself. There's some tips that we're going to talk about what you can do when you're in this range and your opponent has initiative. But for now, we're just going to talk about the different ranges. So this is what we call face hug. We don't really have a name for this range, but it's basically just the range for like the end of your swings can hit your opponent, but you're not necessarily touching your opponent. So
Right.
this is generally the range that most people, when they're in a duel and no one has really taken initiative, they kind of feel each other out from this range. And they're trying to like cut corners and see how they can take advantage of their opponent's position. All this is happening subconsciously, but this is just kind of the range that people generally do it from because this is the range of safety. Like you're right at the edge of their swing.
Right.
And then when you get into this range, that's when things are dangerous. You're more offensively capable, but you're also defensively you're susceptible to being taken a
Zip, zip, zip,
taken a sup, 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 sup.
zip, zip, zip.
I don't know
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say.
that's a great point. Is on if you're face hug and you're on the defense. So say I'm in this kind of range with Marklar right now, and I run in and I give him a parry. So if I run in and I give Mark a parry and he reposts, and I'm in his face now, his swing manipulation, his excel, and his drag is going to be way more dangerous to me than if I was out here and he was reposting me. So like, why don't you just do a couple repost drags and excels, Mark, from this range, and then excels, just so we can have a visualization of kind of why the ranges are different.
You want me to mix them up right now, or just do drags right now?
Just do excels or drags from this range and use your footwork. Like, try to
You
actually
want?
do it, and I'm going to try to use my footwork, and then we can kind of go into it more.
Are you gonna give me your post, or should
Yeah,
I just do
yeah.
it? Okay, go for it. Yeah.
So, it's just a great example is at that range, when I'm keeping that distance between me and Mark, I have a lot easier time reading what his attack is going to be, whether it's going to be a drag or an excel. And now I'm going to go face hug with him off of his repost, and it's going to be a lot harder for me to, play defense. So, just same thing, Mark, except I'm not going to, I'm going to run into you and give you the repost,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
See, as you guys can see, it's honestly night and day how much different it is. Also, you're a lot more pressured when your opponent's right in your face subconsciously. You're just thinking, "Oh, he's like right in front of me. I don't know what's about to happen." So you're giving yourself more time to think and more space when you just when you utilize your range on defense a lot more.
Yeah. Generally, the reason you want space on defense is because you're buying yourself more time until that swing hits you. So if I stab from this range, I'm gonna hit Cologne very fast. But if I stab from this range, my stab has to travel in the air, and then he has time to react to it.
Right.
So it's all about just how fast something can hit you, how threatened you are by getting hit by a really quick attack. And the more threatened you are by getting hit by a quick attack means you're also more susceptible to being hit by like a drag because you're so threatened. You want to parry early.
Exactly. Yep. Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
So into the next. I don't have the bullet point. What do we have next?
Next we have S keying on defense.
All right. So this is the whole S key thing about defense is your strongest defensive capability is holding down your S key no matter what. When
Yeah, you're moving
when
away.
Yep. While Mark was doing those excels and drags from that neutral range, the entire time I'm holding my S key and I'm moving away from Mark's swings. If he does a left LMB, I'm pivoting. So Mark, do only regular LMBs.
Okay. Do you want me to drag him?
Just neutral is fine. You see how I'm moving? I'm pivoting towards his weapon and I'm S-keying at the same time. I'm creating the most distance that I can from Mark's incoming attack. So do it again real quick. Let me just slow it down real quick for a super simple example. Do it again, Mark. Pivoting, S-keying the whole time, and I'm parrying out. And I'm maintaining this distance between me and Mark the entire time. Instead of doing the pivot and moving away, you could also just S-key. So do an attack at me, Mark. I can just hold the S-key down and make Mark run at me, which is another form of it. But I personally like to do the pivot because you're setting yourself up. Yeah, you're setting yourself up for offense, but we're not going to get into that part. So keep in mind, move away from your opponent's attacks. So even if Mark does a overhead at me, I'm going to move away from that overhead. So
I do something kind of funny too. Like, I don't even know if it works, but I crouch when I see an overhead coming at me because I'm actually like it's so ingrained in my mind to get away from the attack while it's coming at me. Does crouching actually change the time that they can hit your head?
yes, it does.
Oh, okay. So crouch does help on overheads if you want to try that. I don't know if I recommend
very slightly, but it does. It would make a difference. The only thing is it'll slow your movement speed down.
Slows you down, yeah. So I don't know if I recommend that. You guys can try it and see if you like it, but it's just something that it's a habit that I've had for a long time.
So watch Mark's footwork as I do these attacks. He's going to be moving away from my attacks.
So I have a lot of time to react to what Cologne's doing. I mean, he could still hit me with a pretty nasty excel, but I'm still giving myself as much time as I'm capable.
Yep, and it's way more harder to perform offense on a player who can keep that range very well.
Yeah.
So the only time that this gets super difficult is when you're fighting a super aggressive opponent and they're just sprinting at you the whole time.
Sprinting in your face.
Yeah, they're sprinting in your face. Even when they do, they're just going to keep sprinting at you. They're running around your shoulders. Now, when you fight opponents like this, just keep calm and realize that they're setting up themselves for the worst position possible. When you're on... This is a little off topic, but your offensive footwork can screw over your defensive footwork
for the next turn, because you could think about a fight as turns. Obviously people don't follow the turn rule where you swing then I swing, but generally in a fight, if your opponent attacks you and you can defend against it properly, it should now be your turn to hit your opponent or to do something to your opponent. You have the initiative.
Like it's my turn, now it's Mark's turn because he took the initiative off of his defense. So what I'm saying is if you fight a player that's running in your face, sprinting into you the whole time, he's screwing himself over. So say from a neutral standpoint the duel starts and I run in at Mark and I attack him and he lands that parry. My defensive footwork is in the worst place it could possibly be right now. So
I'm like in his shoulder.
Exactly. When someone's running at you all the time, sprinting into you, just try to stay relaxed and remember that they're putting themselves in the hardest position to actually defend against what you're about to do. So that's just super important to know because a lot of people just end up feeding them and then it gets worse for them and the opponent's just sprinting into them, running around them. So when you're on defense, utilize that S key and recognize when someone is running into your face hug range. That was pretty off topic because it goes into offensive footwork.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll have another video where we talk about what you can do with like those super aggressive opponents. There's like kicks. There's a lot of things you can do.
Okay. All right. So next.
Utilizing extended parry. Oh no, we just wanted to talk about being careful when you're S-keying, because a lot of players, like, they'll S-key pretty much the whole fight and then they'll attack and then S-key. But if you give your opponent enough room, and like let's say your opponent's been chambering a lot, he's running low on stam, and you should try and pay attention to that, like if you're winning the stam game or not. If you give your opponent enough room, he could just turn around, get all his stam back and maybe even his health if you don't hurry up and get to him on time.
Right.
So that was just a
Like
quick thing we wanted to talk about. That's like one weakness of S-keying, and you have to make sure that you're like watching your opponent and make sure he doesn't get out of your safety range.
that's yeah, that's a great point. Is you want to stay. I mean, you wanna never be face hug. You always want to be in this kind of neutral range with a with like a sword length in between you and your opponent.
On
But you
defense, on
don't,
defense.
yeah, this
Yeah.
is all on defense, and you don't want to be too far from your opponent. Because say I'm winning the fight. Say I have Mark at one shot, he's low on stam, and I'm afraid of his offense. I don't want to be letting him run away from me. So I want to maintain that sword length range from me and my opponent. If he steps forward, I step back. If he steps back, I step forward. I'm just match that range the entire time.
Yeah, and eventually you want to attack. You don't want to just watch him the whole time. You want to do something, but
Yeah.
you're also just making sure that he doesn't catch you with a stab finger or something while you're trying to attack him. Or
Yep. Keep in mind,
it's
this is so isolated right now. What we're talking about, we're completely
yeah,
isolating the defensive footwork, and we're not adding in the offensive standpoint or the initiative standpoint. We're trying to we're trying to make a point on how your fundamentals of defensive footwork should be, and that is
yeah.
simply what?
No, I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah,
My bad.
no, I good. You simply want to be always moving away from your opponent's attack. You simply don't want to be in face hug range, and you don't want to be too far away from your opponent. You want to stay that nice neutral range from your opponent. So yeah.
Cool.
So
We were gonna talk about utilizing extended parry too.
okay. Um, so this is going to be more advanced because it's going to break all the rules I kind of just said, but it's also in a different scenario. So we were just talking about you want to stay at this neutral range, and at this neutral range you want to S key away. Oh, before I get into this, I'm sorry. Why don't we explain what extended parry is? I'll have you explain what exactly extended parry is.
Yeah. So, Clone, maybe you can even post a picture in the video. I'm sure we can get a picture or something. But when you parry, you have this big box around what you're facing. You have this big box, which is your parry box. And if someone hits that box, then you successfully parry. In the center of that box, there's a cone that extends out towards wherever you're looking. And the point of that cone is if you're looking directly at the attack that's coming at you, you're actually going to be able to parry it better because that cone extends out. So if if I'm not looking and I parry, go around my parry box, then even though I parry it, it's inconsistent. He's gonna hit me on my side. But if I look at it, I will get that parry every time as long as I hit it on time. So
Yep.
looking at the opponent's attack with your parry is really important because you get that extended parry off.
Yeah, it's very self-explanatory. It's simply the cursor or your little crosshair is the farthest point in which your parry extends. And the farther you get from, your crosshair, the closer your parry box is to your weapon. I think that makes sense. So
Yep.
the reason why it's important to understand that is because, when you're neutral range, you want to S key out of your attacks. You want to give yourself time to read. When you're face hug with an enemy and you don't have that ability to keep your range, so say I do what I was talking before, and I run in and I excel Mark, and now he has initiative, and he reposts face hug range to me. I can't just S key out, and I can't just get away from his attack. It's too late. He's swinging too fast. I'm in this.
I'm gonna be in this range no matter what he does. Even if he
Right.
S keys, I have what's called chase mechanic. I can keep running at him.
Yep.
I have lunge, so I'm gonna be in that
Lunge. Yeah.
range.
So an example of that is I'm gonna run into you, Mark, and just repost, and I'm gonna try to use my defensive footwork to get out of it.
Okay. I just started saying.
Like Mark can keep that face hug range with me. If I enter into face hug to perform an attack, and he reposts, he can keep that range with me by just running back at me. So the rules kind of change when you're in face hug about how you want to play your defense. And this is the thing is I can't say always go for extended parry, and I can't say always run out of your attacks. But generally at face hug range, your extended parry is going to be a lot stronger than it would be at neutral because you're giving yourself more time to read at neutral range. Versus face hug, you have less time to read, so you kind of want to let your parry do a lot of the work for you. So just an example of what extended parry is going to look like and feel like. I'm going to have Mark repost me, and I'm going to try to run into his drag and catch his drag with my extended parry. Right, that was a great example. It almost feels
He
like
ran
my...
into the swing
Yep, it
in that
feels...
case.
It feels like my parry is like getting pulled off later. Let's do it again.
And I'm dragging pretty hard here. Like I'm trying to move my camera pretty much all the way away.
Yep. So that's
So
extended parry.
I
what it
actually
looks like.
started dragging a little harder towards the end. That's probably why I hit him. But there's also normally I wouldn't drag that hard on my opponent unless I notice that they're sprinting in, and then I'll drag harder. But then at that point, Cologne also has the option, and this is a little more of an advanced footwork technique, but he also has the option to either parry early and then run away. So while I'm dragging super hard, he's just sprinting the other way after he already parried early. Or he can run in, parry, and when he realizes he doesn't have it, then he can try and get away too. So
Right.
it makes it harder for me on offense to know how much to drag and when I should pull back in. It's
Yep.
because we're so close. I don't have much time to react to what he's doing.
So to show an example of that, why don't we show an example of that? I'll go for extended parry if you go for a big drag, and I'll run out. Okay.
Okay.
The thing is, if I parry, when you're going for extended parry, you are trying to parry an incoming excel. So you're blocking the incoming excel by parrying a little bit early, but you're trying to utilize your extended parry to catch the drag. And if I
Yeah.
notice Mark does this big, long repost, I'm immediately going to drop, I'm going to go for the parry, and then I'm going to move out of his swing. So it's like the rules are being bent a shit ton here, and what we're telling you is not true in other situations, and it's true in some situations. So just try to keep in mind that extended parry in face hug range at first, you want to try to catch the swing and utilize the extended parry and try to run into that drag and catch the drag at face hug range. If you notice your opponent's doing huge repost drags, so say, Mark, just do a regular drag right now off a repost. Now try to do a bigger repost drag. Like I'm gonna go for extended parry. You can see Mark's footwork. He's moving away with his footwork to further his drag, and his shoulders are rotating farther. And when you notice that there's a bigger kind of drag coming your way, and you already went for the extended parry, you need to dip out and move away from the swing. And your opponent will have a super hard time doing a big drag and then realizing you're running away and pulling it back in. Damn,
Yeah.
I
And
just
I think a lot. No, you're fine. I think a lot of the defensive stuff we're talking about, like parrying and when to run in, when to run away, we're gonna go over a lot of this probably again in another video, like on defense in general. I'm not sure if we're gonna have a whole defense related video or what we're gonna do.
we should probably do that.
Yeah, but I'm sure we're gonna go over a lot of that. And what you just learned about, parrying early and running away, that's not necessarily a fundamental of defensive footwork, but it's just kind of giving you an idea of like how, like Cologne said, how the rules can be bent and how you can be creative with what you do. Just if you understand the mechanics and kind of have the core fundamentals, then you should be able to build a play style off that.
Yeah, so that's a great point, and you can kind of think of defensive footwork as offensive footwork, or like offensive swing manipulation is like when you go for an excel, you're trying to get your opponent to parry early so you can drag. Like you wanna mix up the fast attack with a late attack, and that's gonna make your opponent either parry early or parry later. When you're doing this whole run in extended parry thing, you're almost trying to make your opponent do these big long drags, and you're kind of forcing your opponent's hand to where he can't excel you because you're early parrying and trying to get that extended parry. So you're negating one of his options and only allowing the other. So it's in a way it's like you're forcing your opponent to do something, but you're on the defense. I hope that
Right.
makes some sense.
Yeah, it puts you in a better position than just sitting there trying to look at the attack
Yeah.
and wait for it. Cool. That's
So
everything.
yeah, maybe we should just do like a little repost battle again and try to do some footwork with it, or?
Sure. I mean, the footwork's just gonna be part of it, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's natural. We should do one little repost battle. We'll drop it down to
Sure.
50% speed and just try to recognize our footwork the entire time.
Ah, dude, I don't even. If it's at 50%, I just don't even need to move.
Oh yeah? Yeah, I guess
Kind of
we
how
shouldn't.
I can play like that versus Cologne all the time. Actually, it's that easy.
Just stand still.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's just do one thing and then that'll be it.
Cool. I think that was a good example right there.
Farmed. Yeah, it's the ping.
Farmed.
It's the ping. You see my ping right now? It's the ping.
I'm a big riposte player. Like I've always been about riposte and swing
God.
manipulation
It's the ping.
on jaw. Same ping.
I swear it's just that 80.
I forgot we're doing riposte. I'm pissed.
Best of 3.
Alright. For all the marbles.
Ah, shit. Four.
How are you one hit?
I would heal up all
Hard.
the way.
I mean,
So,
2 hit.
yeah, that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, sub. Thank you again, Mark.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we'll catch you in the next vid.
See you guys.